Buff Nation, welcome back to another video. The Buffs cracked the top 25. I told you on Saturday they needed to. It had to be done. I know Coach Prime said he didn't want it. He really wanted it, and it happened. Travis Hunter making a move in the Heisman race as we thought he would. I was a little skeptic, not going to lie, but he's making a move, boys and girls. This show is brought to you by BetUS and, of course, a monstrous recruit week, and we got to talk all about it. Before we do, though, we know we can't get the bad boy started without a little intro. Play it. The Buffs crack it, baby. Top 25. Let's rock and roll. Now, we talked a little bit on Saturday. This is important. This is huge. Monumental, some may say. Okay? I said that because with so many games left and with the Big 12 not in the control of Colorado, the only thing they can control is their schedule. And so you need the AP poll to look at Colorado as a higher quality of talent. We see what's in front of them right now. So they've got to get to that 12th spot. That's kind of what you're looking at. You see Clemson and Ohio State, they share 11, right? A lot of things need to happen in front of them. Ole Miss plays Georgia. SMU plays Clemson. Things can happen where they start taking some people away. LSU plays Alabama. Alabama plays a few other people as well. So some things, again, if the Big 12 championship comes off the table, have to happen. But this is the first step. Colorado needs to take this bye week, come back next week. They have to now start dominating even more so in these wins. Those will help for their ranking as they can look as more extremely as dominant as possible, especially against teams that Iowa State, Kansas, and BYU, the teams that are in front of them, that obviously two of those three teams I just mentioned have, if it were to end today, have a spot in the playoffs, right? So that's how I'm looking at this, and that's why it was so important for the Buffs to be in the limelight as soon as possible so the climb doesn't seem so surmountable. I know it seems weird, but the AP poll is weird, right? You had A&M just ahead or behind Alabama last week, and now they're only a few spots ahead of them with one loss, and they're the number one team in the SEC, and they're behind three teams in the SEC. Let that make sense, okay? Two of the three teams have a loss as well, or yeah, three of the three teams have a loss as well. It's wild, and A&M lost to Notre Dame. Tennessee lost to Arkansas, so Tennessee in a way should be behind A&M, right? It's crazy. I don't understand how it works, but it is what it is. It's I don't make the rules. I'm just letting you know how I've seen it enough to know the Buffs need to continue to win and have some help in front of them if they want an opportunity at this playoff. Again, their control what they can control, win your games. Some things still have to happen in front of them, but this was the first big step. And again, I know Coach Prime didn't want to be in that limelight, but this is huge. So back-to-back years for the Buffs being ranked in the top 25. Absolutely electric on that one. And then again, it's just going to be a weekly thing that we do an appreciation post for Jordan Seaton because the young man is just absolutely balling. And it's going to speak to recruiting, which I have been literally screaming my head off for the last few weeks of how important it was for Jordan Seaton to have the success that he's having. 78.5 block rate for Cincinnati, led all true freshman offensive linemen in week 9. That's back-to-back weeks now that he is just leading the way, paving the way at Colorado with his blocking ability. He's so fun to watch. It is so fun to watch good blocking. And again, you see this run game starting to find itself. Again, this is pass block, right? But the run game starting to find itself, and it doesn't find itself without a good front, the wall of Boulder, if you will. So kudos to Jordan Seaton. But let's talk about the recruiting impact that it had this weekend. Actually, we're going to talk about now, let's dive into this Heisman talk, which we've been talking about it back and forth, and I've had my thoughts and opinions about it. I feel like Ashton Jeanty was starting to separate himself. But look, the thing that Ashton Jeanty has to continue to do is operate at the level that he's kind of set the standard for it now. Like, if it's not over 165, we're like, weak game. I think I had like 140, and I was like, weak game. 128, like, didn't even show up, right? And I said it after the game on Saturday. What Travis Hunter did, he had two iconic games. He had an iconic game for wide receiver. He had an iconic game for cornerback. And I think people are starting to realize that, look, the stats aren't going to be there for an individual position like Ashton Jeanty, which is still a phenomenal feat what Ashton Jeanty is doing here. But what Travis Hunter is doing is just, it's surreal. We have never seen anything like it. And it is, you call it a Heisman campaign, right? You've got to think the way that Travis is carrying himself, the way that he's speaking about, look, you haven't seen this before, is starting to be noticed and heard and recognized by the voters along. And what is interesting to see, could we see two buffs end up in New York? It was kind of foreseen earlier on that could happen with Travis and Shedeur. I'm not sure how many times that's happened with Heisman. If I had to guess, probably not many. Probably could count it on one hand. If maybe even if I was even losing a few, I could still count it on one hand. Cam Warner figured would be up there. Dillon Gabriel was another one. He's quietly been getting it done over there in Oregon, the number one team in the country. He's going to be in that conversation by just being number one. Curtis Rourke's hurt, so I expect him to fall down a little bit. Jeremiah Smith, true freshman wide receiver, incredible feat for him to even be up there. Like, such an incredible honor. That kid probably will win a Heisman one day if they can get themselves a more suitable quarterback over there at Ohio State. But love that Travis Hunter is leading the way after week 10. Again, dealing with some injuries the prior 2 weeks, and I said that could be a concern, but again, when he touches the football field, it's absolutely electric. He is just by far, hand none, the best football player on the field when he's on the field, and it's just so fun to watch. So again, this show is brought to you by BetUS. Head on over to BetUS. Check out the odds on this. I know it's been going flying up and down. I don't think Hunter's favored to win this bad boy right now, but you see how kind of the volts and feels is from On3, how they're feeling about it. Take an opportunity at it. Use the code YouTube150 to get back 150% on your first deposit, then 125 on your next two, up to $2,000. Again, he has not been the early favorite this entire time. Could be a great thing to get into. We haven't been wrong about Colorado betting this far this season, right? Whether it was over under on wins, whether it was this covering the spread. I think I'm like, they're 6-2. I gotta be 8-0, 7-1. I think I maybe lost one game. I think I even got the Kansas State game right because I said take the spread. So I'm dialed in. I'm dialed in with when it comes to bet on the Buffs. Now, we talked about this big weekend here. Obviously, big time visits. One of them being in Julian Lewis and a few others. But here's something interesting that he was not a visit, but this is his top 7. Let me go ahead and pull up his name really quick before I forget what it is. Zyke Helton, inside offensive lineman for 2026. So 2 years out, down to his top 7 schools, 6'3", 265 inside offensive lineman. Could reclassify, but yes, what do you recognize about this young man? What is it that's resonating with the Buffs here? You got it right. It's on the tip of your tongue. He's teammates with Julian Lewis. Okay? USC's not on the list, mind you. And now, do they always want to go play for their quarterback? No. That's not how that always works. But you like to see some familiarity with that, right? If you are this young man, and Julian Lewis being who he is, number one quarterback in the class, number 1 or 2, depending on where you look, and you've got offers from the likes of Bama, Georgia, you must be a dog, right? 4-star offensive lineman. So you could go anywhere you wanted, essentially. Why not go play for the best quarterback in the country as well? Team up with Colorado. Just something to keep an eye on. Because, again, Julian Lewis was there, and the buzz coming out from that weekend on the feeling of Julian Lewis has been huge. Now, I see a lot of you guys saying, hey, we're not too concerned about it. We moved on. They feel like it's a play. I get it, but I also feel like there's been a lot of energy put into this. Coach Prime feels like there's a legitimate shot and some legitimate reason to continue to bring him back. And I still think they'll look to the portal, but you want to be able to have, if you go get a guy in the portal, but also have this, you are in a very safe and secure place. You don't want to always just go all in on the transfer portal. The portal is huge, but it has a sense of it's a little bit of a scratch-off ticket. You're not quite sure what you're going to get. Look at DJU going from Oklahoma or Oregon State to FSU. It's not always just an instant gratification fix. You have success, but not always. So if you can have a backup plan, this is one hell of a backup plan, or it could end up being the plan. So we are going to continue to monitor this situation. And again, a source says they feel they moved in on him. Another good thing they said is that in addition to the offense, style play, and NIL branding opportunities of a marquee player has under Sanders, the opportunity to start on day one is very alluring for Lewis as well. And again, this is what's huge, is that you have the entire package. And you see in the quarterback development with Shedeur, right? So there isn't a concern on development. There isn't a concern on NIL branding opportunities. Look, maybe the initial bag that Colorado can give you compared to what a USC, just the initial NIL funding may not be as big, but the branding opportunities are absolutely ginormous by just playing under Coach Sanders. You've seen it with his sons. I understand that, but those are big time marquee players. Julian Lewis will fall into that category, and I can assure you, we saw Caleb Williams get Wendy's contract, things like that, which also was USC. That's not a good conversation. That's not a good comparison. But you understand what I'm saying. There's great opportunities. They really are starting to put things together. Again, not to mention to play right away. Now, USC, with their struggles, could also put in the play of, hey, you could play right away as well. But Lincoln's got to be on the hot seat, much more than what you Coach Andrews is right now. And I think he's silenced the haters on not going anywhere anytime soon. So I don't know. It's going to be one that we're going to continue to watch and come down to the wire and week in and week out as they continue to get more W's and more wins. The eyeballs are going to keep looking of like they might pull one off here, which would just send everyone through the stratosphere. So hope you guys enjoyed today's content. I know I always do. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe. The show is brought to you by BetUS. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about being a top 25, how you feeling about the recruiting weekend, your thoughts on Juju. Want to hear from you. We'll see you on the next one. Peace and love, baby.